Bomber, hammer.
I'll admit it, I've seen Dracula 3000 more than once. Not because it's good, it's absolutely not, but because it's so unbelievably bad and makes you think, this has to be a joke. But then you keep watching, and suddenly you're having way more fun than you expected. The first time I watched it, I thought I had stumbled onto some lost student film someone accidentally aired on TV. But nope, this thing was real. A space horror movie where Dracula ends up on a spaceship in the year 3000. Sounds bizarre, right? And right in our jam. So in this video, let's explore why this movie, with all its flaws and facepalm moments, feels so watchable. Why do people keep talking about it years later? And why this disaster is secretly a gem, if you're watching it with the right expectations, or no expectations at all. Let's dig into this mess together and figure out why Dracula 3000 is the best disaster you didn't know you needed. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What even is Dracula 3000? Dracula 3000 came out in 2004. And no, it wasn't some long-lost sequel or secret cousin of Bram Stoker's iconic tale. This was a low-budget sci-fi horror mashup made for TV and DVD audiences, directed by Daryl James Root, the same guy behind Cry, The Beloved Country, and Serafina. You would think that would mean something serious was cooking here. Spoiler, it wasn't. This film wasn't making festival rounds. Instead, this movie went way off the rails from his usual zone. It was meant to feed that early 2000s hunger for weird, straight-to-video horror. The kind of thing you would find on a late-night cable binge or in the dusty corner of a video rental shop with a cover so bad you had to check it out. Alright, here's where it gets good. The cast is honestly half the reason anyone even remembers this movie. They somehow got Coolio. Yep, Gangsta's Paradise Coolio, to play a tech guy named 187, because of course they did. Then there's Erika Eleniak. You probably know her from Baywatch, playing the ship's navigator. Casper Van Dien shows up too, still holding on to that Starship Troopers cult cred. And Tom Tiny Lister Jr. plays a dude literally named Humvee, a guy who looks like he could crush a vending machine with one hand. Casper plays the lead, Captain Abraham Van Helsing. Yes, that name. And oh, Dracula is played by Langley Kirkwood, who tries really hard to make something of the role. Bless his fangs. It's set on a space freighter named Demeter, which somehow manages to look like a nightclub from the late 90s. The spaceship's name is a nod at Dracula's lore, and that's about as far as the references go before things get totally bonkers. This isn't some gritty space horror like Alien or stylish vampire cool like Blade. This is more like someone dared a college film club to remake Dracula using leftover props from a sci-fi cosplay convention. And they did exactly that. What made this movie unforgettable wasn't the story or scares, it was the ridiculous dialogue, the discount store production design, and the fact that it somehow tries to connect to the Dracula mythos while also ignoring most of it. The runtime's a lean 86 minutes. The whole thing was shot in South Africa on a tiny budget, which explains the weird lighting, cardboard sets, and that awkward quiet when there should be tension music. But the budget probably tapped out. Critics tore it apart. Audiences did too, and yet it lives. Despite being a train wreck by most standards, Dracula 3000 earned itself a kind of cult status. It's that movie you have to show your friends just to see how long they'll sit through it before yelling, "What am I watching?" So yeah, Dracula 3000. Space, vampires, Coolio, a movie you will remember even if you wish you didn't. Bloodsuckers in space. The mission nobody asked for. So Dracula 3000 starts out with a salvage crew cruising through deep space in the year, you guessed it, 3000. They are flying on a ship called the Mother 3, when the gang, led by Captain Abraham Van Helsing, is on a mission to track down a lost transport vessel named the Demeter. Yep, the same name as the ship that carried Dracula to England in the original legend. But this one's floating through the galaxy, not sailing on oceans. It's been missing for years, totally vanished. No signal, no crew chatter, nothing till now. The crew's made up of a bunch of quirky personalities. You have Captain Van Helsing, who takes things way too seriously. Then there's Aurora, the brainy navigator. Humvee's the muscle. 187 is the tech guy who smokes more than he fixes. Mina Murray, the ship's scholar, and a professor in a wheelchair named Arthur. They all climb aboard the Demeter to check things out, expecting cargo or scrap to loot. Instead, they find the ship completely empty and weird as hell. The ship's deserted, dusted over, and powered down, but the crew finds the captain's corpse tied to a chair, gripping a crucifix like death couldn't pry it from him. That's not exactly normal. They decide to tow the Demeter home, but out of nowhere, the Mother 3 unhooks and floats away, and now they are stuck on a dead ship with no way to call for help. Down in the cargo hold, 187 and Humvee poke around and find a stack of old coffins. 187 thinks they're full of smuggled goods, or weed. He pops one open and finds sand. Nothing else. Humvee shrugs it off and heads back up. But 187 keeps poking around and cuts his hand in the process. If you've seen a vampire movie, you know what's coming next. Yes, Count Dracula, or in this case, Count Orlok. But let's not kid ourselves, it's Dracula in all but name. He attacks 187, and he is no longer the same. The rest of the team hears the commotion and rushes over, only to find 187 alive, and not so human anymore. Fangs, pale skin, bit of a craving for blood. Yeah, he's now part of the Undead Club. And he's got a master, Count Orlok. He's been in stasis for centuries, waiting for a chance to snack on humans again. While running from 187, Aurora runs into Orlok himself. She lives to tell the tale and reports back, saying Orlok wants to get to Earth, because what better place for a blood buffet than a planet full of humans? But nobody buys her story. The captain, thinking she's holding something, ties her up and puts Humvee on guard duty. Doesn't take long before 187 shows up again. He and Humvee fight, and Humvee stakes him. While still tied up, Aurora comes clean that she's actually an android cop who was planted to investigate illegal salvage ops. And Orlok didn't bite her because she has no blood. That explains a lot. Even though they feel duped, the captain and Humvee untie her. She might be their only chance. Meanwhile, the captain and the ship's wheelchair-bound professor dig through old records and discover Van Helsing is related to the original vampire hunter, Abraham Van Helsing. Small galaxy. The professor figures Orlok's got beef with the captain because of that. So Van Helsing decides to change course and head toward a binary star system. If they can't kill Orlok, maybe they can cook him in sunlight. Soon, Orlok pops up again. He faces off with the captain. The captain puts up a fight, but loses. And Orlok turns him into a vampire. When Aurora and Humvee return, Vampire Helsing attacks. Aurora stakes him, but Mina has already joined the Vampire Club. She attacks them, giving Orlok the chance to bail. Humvee takes care of Mina. Meanwhile, the professor thinks he's not making it out and strikes a deal with Orlok. In exchange for helping him get back to Earth, Orlok promises to fix his body, but it doesn't work out. When Aurora and Humvee find him passed out, Aurora stakes him with a crucifix. Turns out he got turned too. Orlok makes a final push to the bridge. He tries to break in, but they slam the door on him, slicing his arm clean off. The Demeter's still locked on course for the binary stars, and Aurora and Humvee realize they don't know how to steer this thing, so they're pretty much screwed. They make peace with the situation. The movie wraps up with an old recording from the original Demeter captain, Varna. He talks about sacrificing himself to stop Orlok. The ship then explodes near the stars, taking Humvee, Aurora, and the vampire with it. Orlok's plan to reach Earth burnt to a crisp. There's also a crazy closing scene that hits you with one of those "wait, what?" moments that only makes sense in a movie like this. But I'm not going to spoil it for you. Dracula 3000 is all over the place. The acting's uneven, and half the lines sound like they were written 5 minutes before filming. But somehow, it is still kind of fun. The movie does not, for a hot minute, try to be smart. It knows exactly what it is and commits to that. A haunted spaceship, a bloodthirsty Dracula, a peculiar crew. That's the plot. It's dumb, chaotic, and somehow unforgettable. So if you go in expecting trashy space chaos with vampires and zero common sense, you won't be disappointed because it delivers. Powers, weaknesses, and WTF moments. Vampires are supposed to be ancient and deadly, and in a movie called Dracula 3000, you would think the bloodsuckers would be next-level terrifying, right? Like super-evolved space predators or ancient evils with tech upgrades. Nope. What you get instead feels like a cosplay party gone sideways. But hey, I'm not complaining. These vamps are scruffy, loud, and honestly, a little lazy. Long leather coat, pale face, and glowing eyes. Dracula still holds that old-school thirst for domination baked into his cold, undead bones. He has fangs and drinks blood. Pretty standard stuff. But for some reason, he's on a spaceship, which feels like the worst place to be if you're hunting humans. There's no escape route, nowhere to hide, and barely any people on board. He's been sleeping in a coffin on the ghost ship Demeter, waiting for someone to wake him up so he can start his blood buffet. And once he's out, he doesn't waste time. Now, ability-wise, Dracula has the usual bag of vampire tricks. Super strength, immortality, superhuman speed, and the whole bite to infect power. He can turn humans into vamps real quick, and once they turn, they're blindly loyal to him. It's not subtle. You get bit, you are Team Dracula. The best and weirdest example is 187. After Dracula gets to him, he turns into this wide-eyed maniac who talks about his new master like he's joined a vampire fan club. Also, he becomes sleazier after being bitten. I don't know why. Get a grip, for God's sake, 187. Orlok doesn't hypnotize or toy with his prey. He bites, converts, commands, and repeats. He doesn't shapeshift, doesn't fly, doesn't hypnotize anyone. Most of the time, he blinks in and out of places and bites people without warning. Like he's bored. That's about it. There's no holy water, no crosses, no garlic. Sunlight kills them, but since we're in space, opening a window whenever we want is not an option. However, they can still be killed. The wooden stakes still work, which is hilarious when you think about it. Spacefaring humans using old vampire rules in the year 3000? Now, Orlok's goal is simple. He wants to use the Demeter to get back to Earth, turn it into a planet-sized blood farm, and rebuild his vampire empire. Only if he can get off that damn ship. He talks about ruling again and bringing darkness to the universe, or something dramatic like that. This Dracula has a one-track mind. Wake up, take over, snack on humans. So yeah, the vampires in Dracula 3000 don't sparkle, they don't brood, and they definitely don't have cool powers. They are scrappy, vulgar-mouthed, and kinda stupid. I see you, 187, but they do spread like a virus, creep around in the dark, and are ready to wreck everything in their path. They're more confusing than cool, and if you try to figure out their powers using logic, you're already doing more work than the writers did. Every time you think they're about to do something cool, the movie hits you with a moment that makes you say out loud, "What was that?" The ending still baffles me. I mean, why? If the goal was to reinvent vampire lore, Dracula 3000 took that idea, microwaved it for 30 seconds, and tossed it into space. So if you ever want to see Count Dracula try to take over a spaceship while wearing leather and threatening androids, this is the movie for you. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll question everything. Dracula 3000 is the kind of movie that makes you pause and wonder how it even got made, then keeps you watching because it's somehow more entertaining than it has any right to be. It was supposed to be a sci-fi horror movie, but what came out feels more like an unintentional comedy. And yeah, let's not sugarcoat it. It's awful, but it's also hilarious. It's the kind of mess you watch with a bunch of friends, popcorn in hand, halfway through shouting at the screen, half laughing, because what else can you do? Let's start with the acting, or whatever you want to call what's happening here. Coolio plays a tech guy named 187 like he's in a parody sketch. Casper Van Dien looks like he's waiting for the paycheck to clear. Erica Eleniak seems like she wandered in from a different movie. No one is on the same page. Some are yelling, others are barely whispering. Actors' voices change mid-film, and the acting feels like everyone's reading off cue cards someone dropped in a puddle. But I have a bone to pick with Mr. Dracula. When Dracula, played by Langley Kirkwood, the same guy from Dread and Death Race Inferno, finally steps out from the shadows, you would expect a major presence. This is the guy, the head vampire, the reason the whole crew is getting picked off like flies in a haunted freezer. But the reveal was a total letdown. Pasty, pale face, flat expression, and a basic vest and cape combo that looks like it came off a mannequin at Spirit Halloween 2 days after clearance began. Nothing about him has that aura of an ancient evil overlord. Zero presence. You wouldn't even look twice if the guy walked past you on a subway, unless you were wondering why he's wearing a Dracula cape on a subway. There's no sense of age or weight to him. Nothing that says this guy has been haunting the galaxy for centuries. He doesn't look powerful. He doesn't sound dangerous. It's like watching a bored substitute teacher try to play Dracula for the school play. It's a real problem too, because everything in the story builds toward this guy showing up. The coffins, the attacks, the possession, the crew's slow unraveling, it all leads to Count Orlok stepping in as the menace on the spaceship. And when he finally does, it's a total bummer. You keep waiting for him to do something that will make him feel like a threat, but all he does is talk vaguely, shuffle around, and occasionally wave his hand like he's directing traffic. He is less Prince of Darkness and more guy who forgot Halloween was yesterday. This guy's supposed to be the root of the nightmare, and he shows up looking like he bought his costume from a thrift store. That too on a heavy discount. It's like they put him there because, well, they had to. All in all, it's one of the flattest Dracula portrayals out there. And those dialogues, don't get me started on that. It's like the script was written in one night over a few beers. The movie has lines that don't sound like anything a human would say. The one-liners are awkward, often demeaning, directed towards the ladies in the movie. The sets look like they were built out of leftover Halloween decorations, and it shows. Every set looks flat. Every effect feels half done. And the plot feels like it's held together with duct tape and hope. It's bad, really bad, but somehow it works. To be honest, I watched it thinking it would be so boring I'd check my phone the whole time. Nope. I was locked in. Not because it's good, but because every few minutes it does something so off the rails you have to see what comes next. It's like the movie keeps daring you to take it seriously, and the harder it tries, the funnier it gets. The kind where you can't look away, even when logic flies out the window and the acting feels like everyone's winging it after a night out, but you just can't stop. Personally, I had way more fun than I probably should have. It's the perfect background movie for a late night hangout. Toss it on with snacks and a group of friends, and the commentary writes itself. Now, what do people think about it? Well, the internet is divided. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's sitting in the basement with a 0% critic score. Yep, 0. You don't see that often. But on fan forums and late-night Reddit threads, people treat this movie like a lost treasure. Some call it a cult flick, but honestly, it's more like an accidental meme. It's not The Room famous, but it's got that same you have to see it to believe it energy. Others label it a cringe fest, which is fair enough, but a decent chunk of viewers put it in their guilty pleasure bucket, right alongside Sharknado and that Mortal Kombat sequel nobody admits liking. Dracula 3000 never got a sequel, which is tragic and also a mercy. But over time, it's built this weird little cult following online. Not big, not loud, but there. Horror fans who dig bad movies love to bring it up as one of the prime examples of so bad it's worth watching. Marvelous verdict. So yeah, Dracula 3000 is bad. Deeply, hilariously bad. You're not going to walk away impressed, but you might certainly pause and roll your eyes and go, wait, did that just really happen? Or you might even walk away smiling. It's that kind of film. If bad movies were an art form, this one belongs in a museum, preferably in the broom closet, next to a flickering fluorescent light and a broken smoke machine. It's a perfect film for a bad movie night. You'll groan, laugh, rewind, and probably quote it for weeks because train wrecks like this are hard to forget. Guilty pleasure? Big time. This is the stuff bad movie marathons were made for. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.